AI is a huge thing. It's a disruptor. There's two types of skill sets that are going to be bifurcating in marketing. One is the user of the tool, and then there's the other one who is the owner of the analytics or programming of the tool.
Okay.
And it's really hard to have one person do it together today.
Today I've got Manny Rivera with us. He's with the Chicago Advisor Group, EVP of the Salesforce practice, marketing consultant, but we want to talk about your rich history of leading brands and marketing. Manny, thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. So I guess just so to kind of ground people, a lot of the folks that our audience and we work with are sort of leading brands. You've definitely led some brands in marketing. Can you kind of give us a little bit of that quick background?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in marketing for well over 25 years. I stopped counting because you get to the point where it's like...
It's 20, yeah, after 25.
You get to the point, it's enough, it's enough. But, I started my career, believe it or not, in the automotive industry with Ford Motor Company. And then I eventually evolved and worked for Coca Cola in marketing, brand marketing. And so that really opened up my eyes.
That's a logical jump.
It is a very hard jump.
Okay.
It's not easy to go from automotive to consumer packaged goods.
It's a bit of a leap.
Yeah, I got lucky and I had some good mentors and some opportunities that availed themselves and it worked out. And then from there I've worked, after my stint at Coke, I've worked for Eastman Kodak, doing the same thing, and then go back into the beverage business and I went into work for Pepsi Cola. So I've seen the cola wars on both sides of the fence, and I evolved and took my marketing career into pharmaceuticals. So you've probably seen, for AstraZeneca, you've probably seen Nexium, the purple pill, so I've been involved in that. And then what brought me here to my current location is I did the same thing for Abbott Labs, where I worked on the launch of their Humira brand.
So in those roles, are you kind of leading the marketing? Are you leading product launches? Like, I guess, is there sort of like a common theme across those different roles?
So once I learned the foundations of marketing, the activities, the skills required to be a marketer, then I started focusing on creating brands and creating and launching new businesses and products. But I've always been in the vein of marketing, but what I've learned through my journey of marketing is I'm able to apply my B2B2C or B2B business approach to every one of those industries, and marketing applies to all of them.
Sure.
So that was how I was able to cross over, because a lot of people get hung up on, well, if you're in this industry, that's the industry you need to stay in. It's like, no, my category, the industry I'm in marketing. And so how you apply your skill sets in marketing to each of those different categories is what allowed me to get all these great opportunities in marketing.
Was it ever, because when you mention those different brands, everybody knows them, and also very different categories, like when you were ever like going for that job or whatever, did you ever have to make a case? Like, you're kind of like how you're saying, like people are kind of confused when you're in both B and B2C, or was it like a no-brainer for these companies? They're sophisticated and they get you.
Well, that's a great question. It's both ways, because you do need to make sure that the person that you're speaking with understands the principles of what marketing can do for their business, but I have to do my homework in making sure it's like, how do I illustrate that I understand your business problem?
Right.
And my trick of the trade of how to improve your business problems or solve your business problems through the art of marketing, I have to demonstrate that.
Because you have to mitigate risk still, right? They have to feel
Yes.
like, okay, I'm not taking this like big home run swing here. I'm also going to I know what I'm getting also.
Yeah, for instance, in the beverage world, you have a lot lower threshold of regulatory oversight. You go into the pharmaceutical world, you have one of the highest levels of regulatory oversight. I have my fair share of letters from the FDA saying, we don't like what you're doing. At the end of the day, it's like, okay, we need to tone it down. Right. So you kind of learn.
You can push. You can ask for Forgiveness, maybe?
Well,
instead of permission?
they don't quite say stop.
Yeah,
Sometimes
yeah, yeah.
they do, but
They give you a warning shot.
In my case, it's like, yeah, can you tweak that or remove
Yeah.
it? And we can do it really quickly because we're structured to deal with those things.
Yeah.
I have to do my homework, but also have to show them that and also articulate, I have an idea how to improve your business challenge through what I have done.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
But that person has
That's
to be receptive.
Sure, they got to show up ready. There's got to obviously be a fit between need and what you bring to the table. You know, you've mentioned the purple pill as an example of something you've launched. Probably people know more of the more like consumer brands like Coke and some of those things.
Right.
Any brands that or any launches that you've been a part of that we all know?
Yeah, I've been involved in several Coke product launches, including in kind of revamping their diet portfolio.
Okay.
So I've been involved in that, so I would leave that. And then with Pepsi, I've been heavily involved in their Lipton iced tea business.
Okay.
So the revamping of Lipton iced tea, you see in bottles and cans, that was a big win for us. Gotten the business back to $1 billion, but it was because we just kind of reassessed its portfolio, rebrand things. So that was a good
So it was like a rebranding exercise?
It was rebranding and also launching new products within that brand.
Well, I do want to talk about transformations within the digital. I mean, as you help these companies transform their brand, bring in digital and integrate that, and then I think recently AI is a big part of that, right?
AI is a huge thing. It's a disruptor.
Yeah.
And one can look at it as a positive, or one can look at it as a disruptor and negative. You know, you hear both sides of the fence on that. But yeah, a lot of organizations that I'm involved with and help through, especially a lot of startups, are struggling how to infuse and incorporate AI. You know, a lot of them says, I want to transform. It's like, yeah, but that means so many things. It's like, but what is it that you're trying to get to? And then we've morphed into tools doing a lot of the manual work and automation. We've had advanced analytics helping us make decisions, because a great marketer makes decisions based on the insights and facts, not just because of my gut feel. Too many companies won't pay me a lot of money to say, because I feel this is going to work in the marketplace. I've had my share of failures too. But now we're in the era of, well, how do I improve my workflow and my decision making and my time to market decision making? In other words, can I get to real time decision making with analytics and everything else I do within my workflow? That is the more complicated part.
So are you specifically talking about like marketing operations, like the day-to-day functioning and how to become more efficient as as a group?
Well, there's two ways, because yes, you have the generative side of the business where you have the creative, the copy and visuals, but then you have the mechanics of, like you said, marketing operations, the execution side.
Right.
At one point in time, it was like one person was doing it all, and one group was doing it all. Now it's become so complex, and the skill sets are so deep in certain areas that you don't get someone who is an illustrator who can write copy, who can go execute on different digital channels. It's not one person anymore. There are people who do it, but it's the larger the organization and the more complex you go to market, your marketing department tends to expand a bit.
Okay.
Well, AI can help control that need for all these fragmented skill sets, but you need someone who understands the full picture, and not a lot of people understand the full picture because they've come up through operations or they come up through the creative side, the traditional side.
Yeah. So is this, trying to bring some, because I think this conversation is so big, you're talking about the word transformation, it's like, well, what are you transforming?
That's a good point. I think where I usually coach people to focus in on is there's two types of skill sets that are going to be bifurcating in marketing. One is the user of the tool, and then there's the other one who is the owner of the analytics or programming of the tool.
Okay.
And it's really hard to have one person do it together today. Probably 10 years from now, that one person will be the same person.
You mean like somebody within the marketing group team, for example?
You need two people. You need the technical aspect of someone managing and doing and coding and scripting the tools, and then you also have someone who is using the tool.
Got it, okay.
And they're typically not the same person. It's a different skill set.
Okay. Are we talking about like within a market, I'm just thinking about a current marketing team, for example. Are we talking about people using the AI tools? Or doing content creation as another asset? Are you talking about for all activities in marketing? Or
So here, I'll try to
give me an example.
Yeah, I'll try to get a little more simple. If you're not using an integrated platform, okay? If you're using
like a Salesforce.
Right, if you're using an integrated platform like Salesforce Marketing Cloud, you can do everything on that tool set, and you have embedded tools to do that. So less dependency on a technical person to make all those connections. If you're not using an integrated tool, like most organizations are still evolving to get to an integrated platform, then you probably have someone connecting to your databases and someone who's doing your analytics and someone doing your reporting and then someone doing your execution, right? And so all that stuff is moving behind the scenes. And so when you have a platform that is already pre-connected, and I'm dealing with a situation right now that's using a platform to do their execution on Salesforce Marketing Cloud. And their challenge is that, oh, well, I'm the marketer, I'm in charge of this with my customer or client. The challenge is that, well, I need to run a test script or I need to run a test and I don't have a Marketing Cloud administrator, someone who is the technical person who pushes the buttons behind the scenes and make it work.
You know, give me some specific examples of the things that they're trying to do. Are they trying to scale their content creation? Are they trying to bring in analytics they have never had before?
So,
you know, what are some of those things?
Those are two really good points, and those are actually very, very common. The first point around content is they're trying to figure out how to reduce their cost of using agencies or outside third people coming in or hiring a creative person to come in and illustrate things. It is, with today's AI, generative AI in that respect is getting a lot better.
Yeah.
In that world. And so for this more simplistic ask of those tools, that's where it's going because they can reduce either a skill set within their department or outsourcing of that skill set.
Right.
So they can generate themselves. But then you talk about analytics. So this is where the two actually come together. Analytics has always been a challenge for a lot of marketing activities. The digital marketing activities have been a lot better. But now,
put all the data together.
Exactly.
Read it,
now if I can
sense.
get and program a model within an AI tool set to have all that information fed in there, I can generate.
You get your data
right there.
Analyst.
And it now connects into my generative AI. So that's why the two need to coexist. So this is where you can use AI to connect. Now I have my analytics that is learning as well at the same time. It's actually give me the insights that I would see a report on a weekly basis, maybe a monthly basis or quarterly basis. I'm getting it in real time, but I don't need to see it in real time anymore because I'm not the one who has to connect the dots.
Yeah. Is this similar to, you know, there was like a kind of a viral clip of Mark Zuckerberg talking about how with like Meta and the platform, and he's basically, not too far distant future here, the platform is going to get the insights it needs to in real time create the creative, the asset or content that's just going to go directly to the audience.
Right.
There's not going to really be a need for somebody to create things. Distribution platform is now the new creator. Obviously, that creates a lot of stir with certain communities.
Yes.
But is that kind of a similar thing, where it's right from distribution channel platform to right?
With the analytics, they can profile me, and then with generative content, I will be on the same site at the same time as you, and I will probably get something different to ensure that I may do something different that they want me to do. And that's basically what marketing is basically I'm asking you to do something.
Yeah.
It becomes not a cheap transformation.
Got it.
It's coming. And when the platforms all integrate all that into one, they're going to buy into those platforms. But then you're going to need to retrain your marketers because, yes, they have a marketing title, but it's like now they're tool drivers.
Right. So I'm curious, because you have this background of like creating brands. I mean, you created the Coke Zero brand.
I did things in the old way.
Yeah.
Where we would do market research, come back, assess, use our own
RFP.
Yeah, we would do all that stuff, but then we'd come back and saying, okay, just use our human intelligence and connect the dots. And that was the art of marketing, and that's where I learned that foundation. But now that I have that traditional foundation on how to do that, then I go today's world where I've been using these tools for several years because they disrupted my world as a marketer and I had to learn them. But I know the foundations on how these tools would work, and then how do you structure it in your workflow, because I still need to connect the dots, but I still need to do my survey, right? I still need to get insight. But how do I use it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a good point. Like you have to still, it's like I think about, I mean, in my world, like the world of, we're a video storytelling creative agency. We do these creative things, a lot of content. My background is in film production.
Right.
And I actually shot, and cut spliced film. You worked at Kodak, you know what that's all about. And then digital changed everything, and all of a sudden we're doing this. And it's the same. There's fundamental pieces of understanding how to light and frame subjects and what looks good for an audience, but you're using different tools all of a sudden. So I think, obviously that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I'm curious as to with that background that you have, that experience you have, the art side of it, and now we're talking about like removing the human art side of it. Help me understand that. Is there a world where we don't even have the sort of that human artistic element in the mix? Is that how you see it going?
So that translation of the human knowledge, let's say the foundations, like let's use your example. You learned how to shoot photography, right? You learned how to do that, and now all of a sudden you have editing software that does that. But you still need to know, the art part is that you still need to know what is a good scene and when you splice in something from different perspectives, from which camera angle, in order to tell your story. Now there is the creative aspect of things that we're talking about, the human aspect of it. It's really hard to remove. But as you evolve in your career and you've done, let's say you become the digital editor studio and you're doing all this great stuff, is like, but then you pair up with someone in technology who translates your creative vision or your creative approach, translates that into code, teaches the AI, this is what a good scene looks like with 3 cameras.
Right. In which that stuff's already happening. You can go on VO and just go make a
commercial.
Chicken flying a plane
So the same thing that's going on with marketing. Someone has to translate hey, who's your target audience? Great. Well, how do you determine the target audience? Well, I have to look at it this way, this way. So train your AI, or you write the code for the AI to say, when someone says, who's the target audience, this is what you do. Boom, 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 and you got the information. It needs to be taught that. It won't figure it out on its own.
I'd love to hear what you're seeing and how you're reacting to some of the things that are being created. Like, I've seen a lot of this side of the conversation where people are making something like like this AI Tesla commercial is going viral and changing the world or whatever. And then you watch it and it becomes clear that like, oh, well, this was made as a spec for fun, not like by Tesla at all. And like you watch it, you're like, this is not very good. People that are focused on like the tech side that are like, we're gonna eliminate all these jobs and make it really, it doesn't cost $1 million, it costs $0. Isn't that what you want? But like they're just missing this whole, well, what's the impact we're trying to create for our audience and for our customers? As
an experienced cinematographer, you would know is like, that's very clunky. But nice job, for an amateur. But see, you would know that, and that's the part that is currently missing, and that's the part that we'll continue to miss, because I don't know where AI, if it can feed into that kind of experience base. How do you code that so it actually is? Now they're getting a lot better, right? Close enough. Yeah. That's why I say, hey, we're almost there. Kind of like content generation on the fly in real time. The stuff I see is like, it's nice, but I wouldn't put a $10 million ad campaign on that.
But the first thing, and you tell me if I'm wrong, is like, we want to deliver this impact to our customers. We want to have them do something as a result. And if that costs a certain amount of money, we're going to spend it because we're trying to achieve this and use our resources for that. So it's like, when the conversation is only about, look what we can, this always cost $1 million, now it's $0. So it seems like it misses the whole point of what a marketer is trying to do. Are you finding that like companies or leaders are coming and saying, I know what to connect, I just need help connecting it? What advice do you have, I guess, for marketers, marketing leaders, CMOs, the VPs are, they're trying to figure this out. Anything come to mind that you're kind of going back to over and over again that you can share?
Well, sometimes I question, how'd you get this job? No, but in reality it's like, I think the challenge is that it's still being thought as these silo operations and not
so
thinking.
Think differently is one thing.
That's one. And the other one is where I think I see a lot of people make the biggest mistakes. They're structured and their culture is this. But they are going to deploy a new technology that changes your workflow and the order you might do things. Where the biggest mistake is that they force that technology into their current workflow. It's opposite. You're buying into an ecosystem, you're buying into a way of doing business or execution and marketing better, faster, cheaper. Then you need to do is restructure yourself to support how that tool works.
Right.
That might be different skill sets, upscaling, but it might be tool drivers where people are using the tool versus people who used to do it manually.
Right.
They need to learn how to use the platform. And then you want to be involved in a platform that is constantly evolving and adding new features built into your platform. So once you get the platform or the workflow that you want to go to marketing, if you want to deploy and integrate technology or content creation or automated channel execution, you might have to reteach the people who were doing content creating to run the tool. I actually went and I got a lot of heat for this. Is like I actually sat in the room with the trainers and started doing the little training modules. And they're like, when you introduce yourself, I had to do disguise no, I'm just a lonely employee over here in the corner. So now I'm more educated in how to best to restructure the group to support, because the tool is going to be evolving and being integrated into your workflow. That's how I learned it.
Okay.
And I felt that I was going to be obsolete.
So you better get your hands dirty and you better start using things, even if it's like the very starter version of whatever this is. I mean, what does that look like now? I mean, getting on ChatGPT and just making sure you're
the thing is,
it?
I do use ChatGPT on certain things, and the thing is that within the program, you can box it in saying, well, here's samples of my writing, and I want to write at 6th grade level, and I only want to be in a friendly tone. That is my style. This is my brand.
So you can give it the guidelines.
So I have to box it in, and then never generate anything over 100 words.
Right.
It's like I don't.
But with a platform, there's a lot of those boxes are built because they're very specialized for the specific function of marketing, as an example.
Yeah. So what I'm explaining on the ChatGPT as an example, that same mindset is still traditional marketing approach.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to bring into the tool so that the tool is working within
how you have to give it the parameters. You have to give it the expectations. You have to give the ideal outcomes.
And it's just
so the art form does become a little bit more about probably getting even clearer.
Yeah.
Because it used to be able to kind of fudge it a little bit more, right? Like kind of go with the flow a little bit. There's whoever's in the room will figure this out. But now you're like, I'm programming basically.
Yeah.
So to be a good programmer, it's got to be like super buttoned up.
They might test 4 or 5 different versions at one time, come back and say it resonates.
So I got to ask this question.
Yeah.
Put you on the spot. If you were to give advice to a company like ours, creative agencies out there,
right,
that they make their whole focus is helping clients, brands that you've led marketing for, tell their story, connect with their audience, and should we become like IT consultant companies that help them enable their connecting those dots, or can we sort of take the next step in this lane that we're at? Any thoughts there? Have you given that any thought, I guess?
I'm going to give it a thought because you put me right on the spot. I would say the first thing I learned in marketing, my days at Coke, was we need to create awareness. Without awareness, you can't get to the next part of consideration. If you're not part of consideration, you can't get into the next phase of the decision making, is purchase. So if I can't get to past phase 1, this is phase 1.
Right.
Phase 2 is the content we create, the sound bites we make, the ask we want. Because if you're looking for someone to buy your product or come to your seminar or whatever it is, how many are there out there? I need to get that down to about 3 or 4. You're going to recall me. If you can't recall me, you're never going to get to purchase.
So this is super fascinating stuff. I could talk about it all day, but I do want to do a quick little rapid fire session.
Sure.
Are you ready for this?
All right.
What's a word or phrase we should no longer use in the workplace?
I can't.
How come?
I'm not a big believer when we start conversations or we start our thought processes saying, we can't do that. I've always been the impression that I get compensated and paid to do it, to make it happen, to figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
But I think we tend to start our conversations with, I don't know if we can do that, or I can't do that, or, so I think if we reverse that mindset, I think we can figure out to be more creative on how to solve challenges in business. So
I like it. Well, Manny, this is great. I really appreciate your time with us. Thanks for sharing your wisdom.
Well,
thanks for sharing your knowledge.
Thank you for letting me be here, and hopefully this is helpful to someone.
El Final.